Hey guys, what's up and welcome to my Summer One Fest coverage. Today we're going to be talking about the Megahobby Expo, essentially being the pre-game to One Fest, but I gotta say there's some really good stuff at this event, and I'm pretty sure this is the first time Alter's actually shown up to a figure expo in quite some time. And they brought the goods. Oh, did they bring some nice ass figures, and they weren't the only ones, I can tell you that. On top of Megahobby Expo though, we're also going to be looking at a couple of other events that already happened this week, so get comfy and let's begin. So I'm just going to jump between companies, starting off with Licorne. Is that how you say their name? I don't really know, but I do know they had 2 figures to show off, and both were kinda fantastic. Well, technically 3 actually, so first let's start off with Anzu and Karari. Now, despite what you see here, this is not actually 2 figures in one. They just wanted to display them like this so you could see that they go together. And my god, is this not the cutest shit you've ever seen. I don't know if I'm going to be able to resist getting these, especially Anzu. I mean, they went out of their way to make this so goddamn adorable, and it's just amazing. Like, to compensate for how much shorter Anzu is, they set her up on this cake with like a slightly tilted perspective, and then all around the cake are giant candies and sugary treats that look outstanding. And the color palette on both of them looks so good. It's so vibrant and so eye-catching. Both of their dresses being decorated in candy and stars, and the matching shirts, plus their hair, it's so good. It's decorated with like candy jewelry throughout it. And those winking expressions with the cat mouth, there's not a single thing I dislike here. In fact, I like all of it, so let me just calm myself down before I start pointing out every little detail. I know I'm like starting the video really strong with this one, but seriously, I love this. And I don't want to know the price, I really don't. Let me just pretend like the price tag won't upset me for a few weeks while we wait and find out, okay? We good? We're good. There was also this Sonoda figure from them, a Halloween-themed idol costume labeled as the Stirring Milk version. Now, I don't know why it's called that. Don't really want to know honestly, but if you're into Halloween themed figures, or just like the previous figures you like really cute idol figures, then this one is amazing too. Maybe even one of my favorite Halloween figures I've ever seen. You know, if you ask different people, maybe they'd want something more properly scary, but like, as far as the cute Halloween side goes, this is great. Again, there's so much candy like in her hands, in the pumpkin basket, and the purple and orange color scheme just goes so hard. The shading looks superb. I love how her stomach is only like slightly covered with a thin black fabric, and her face is once again just so cute. Because it's an idol figure, you gotta have some like asymmetry going on, which you could see throughout the costume, but the one ripped stocking and the one striped sock is where I notice it the most, and I really like it. This costume is just great. Again, I could just keep pointing out the little details here, but just take a moment for yourself and look it over again because it's really nice. Let's jump over to Mimeyoi, as they only had one thing at this event. Maybe more will come at One Fest in person, but for now we have another race queen from them, Zuikaku. Now, I really don't have anything too negative to say here, but I do think it's the least impressive of the race queens we currently have right now. Like, she's definitely pretty, and I think the hair sculpt and the shading look great, but I can't help but feel a little let down, I guess. I don't know, I don't really follow these Azur Lane figures too much, but it's a bit boring, I guess, compared to the Duke of York and the Prince of Wales. It might just be a personal preference though, like I'm sure plenty of people dig this one, but maybe I'm just looking for a different character design in Azur Lane, and this one's just not the one for me. Alright, next up is Amakuni, one of my favorite companies, and despite how the website had a ton of pages for figures, only like 3 of them were new, and 1 didn't even have a prototype. But one of these I've been waiting to see for a long time, and it kinda came out perfect to me. And that just so happens to be Bomber Girl's Aqua. Now, why Bomberman decided to turn its series into FAP bait, I don't know, and I'm not complaining. We've got a lot of nice designs out of it. And while I would put Pine as my number 1, Aqua is probably in my top 3. So anyway, this sculpt is basically Aqua sitting upon a throne of her cute little bat minions. There's a stone-like structure encompassing the whole figure, but outside of like her foot, she's not really interacting with it too much. And her outfit is some sort of like vampire lingerie, which is pretty unique in its own right. But the real selling point here, the absolute best part of this figure, is her face. The expression is like god tier. The degenerate side of me is just so pleased with how her face turned out. Even her eyes look outstanding. I think the only thing that might turn people away, I guess, is just like how blue this figure is. I think it's lovely. The various shades of blue really manage to stand out against each other, and the bits of yellow in the bat's eyes and her crown contrast so well. But I can understand if this is just too much for someone. But really, she looks sexy, her drill hair is amazing, her pose couldn't be any better, and hey, if I'm being honest, I think it's kinda funny that she even has a womb tattoo. If I get this figure, that'll be a first for my collection. I guess I could check that off the bucket list. Now here's another great one, though sorry to say I'm much less familiar with her, but this is Ariel from So I'm a Spider, So What? A series that seems fairly popular but doesn't have many figures. Well, this is aiming to fix just that. Right off the bat, love this costume. Whatever this cape is supposed to be, with like the 6 giant segments with gold and sharp gems, looks so nice. And her spiky but fluffy collar, it looks kinda soft, I wanna touch it. I really do like her face though, her eye decals look really good. And I think there's a very slight amount of eyeliner along them. It's a bit hard to tell, but if so, bonus points for that. Because this is Amakuni, it makes sense that her ass is basically like halfway to peeking out of her pants, and the thong she's wearing will give us some slight skin indentation there, so yeah, gotta love that. Yeah, I wish I knew more about this series because this figure's great in my opinion, her outfit is really unique looking, and I think this just has a really visually striking sculpt, like I'd love to see it in person. The only other new figure I believe was the Sophia F. Schuring bunny figure, likely in a 1/7 scale if I had to guess. Props for this bunny outfit being more futuristic and like slightly mecha, I like that a lot actually. It doesn't hurt how she's a very curvy character too, as you can see, with so much side boob, jeez. I think her face is really cute, and maybe it's just an art card thing, but the inside of her hair seems to be pink. Hopefully that's part of the figure because I think it would look great. But yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for Amakuni. Alright, let's jump into Alter finally, what I would consider the winners of the event, and maybe even One Fest entirely, but I'm getting ahead of myself. We've got plenty more One Fest coming up very soon. Now, it really feels like for most of these figures, Alter wanted to step it up. They've kind of been doing so lately in general, but a few of these are actually so insane, and it's gonna be hard to not want at least one of these figures. Like our first one here, I've never heard of this girl, Serizawa Asahi from Idolmaster Shiny Color, but just look at this figure. I mean, goddamn, there is a lot going on here. At the expense of your wallet, sure, but it's just so impressive. I mean, as much as I want to talk about her, that base, it's beautiful. An entire traffic light and sign setup with some like clear digital blocky plastic surrounding it. It's colorful, it's sculpted expertly, it's got signs of weathering. It looks so cool and unique, and then Serizawa is in this like, man, I don't even know how you would describe this outfit. It's like a mix of traditional and modern Japanese street culture wrapped into one. We'd be here all day trying to break it down, but a few highlights for me are the ropes with the cat bell, the bomber jacket or whatever that type of coat is supposed to be, and then everything that's going on the top of her head. The hood's up, the hat's on, and the mask with like the tag wrapped around it looks so cool. What a great expression on her face too, with the tongue sticking out. What a rascal. With so many colors and small details on this one, she is bound to be amazing when this eventually comes out. But yeah, we're just getting started because next up we got Schwarz from Arknights, and this is somehow maybe even better than Serizawa. I mean, that's certainly up for debate, and frankly, it's not a competition, but man, this is one of the nicest figures I've seen ever. I was so instantly impressed by this one that when I first saw this, I kind of just had to stare at the photos for a few minutes in silence. Look at that weapon, just look at the sheer size of it, and then realize just how intricate the design is. And because that's not enough, she's also got a mini crossbow on her other hand, a duffel bag because why not, a briefcase with papers flying out, and then a bunch of really nice effect parts to complete the composition. It all looks fantastic. But similarly to Aqua, her face is amazing. It's so good looking that you could take away all the weapons and little details on this figure and I would still be drawn to her. Those thick eyelashes and bright yellow eyes are mesmerizing. I really can't get over how good her face looks. You know, I've gone on record as like a translucent hair hater, but because of how intricate this hair sculpt is, I actually really like it here. Also, just to focus on her top really quick, but I really like how scratched up it is. Just that extra detailing really makes me think of quality. So what are we guessing here? 45,000 yen probably? More? Who knows? I really won't blame you if you buy this for whatever price though. I think this is a masterclass of sculpting. After two crazy sculpts, it's nice to be brought back down to earth with Giyu here from Demon Slayer. Just like the other Alter Demon Slayer figures, they've gone for a more silent, graceful approach, and I like that. I think Giyu looks exactly like he should be, with a spot-on face, his paint job is excellent, and his water effect parts look beautiful. While I definitely like Shinobu's butterflies, I gotta admit going a bit harder on the effects here turned out for the better. No doubt in my mind this will be one of Giyu's best figures on the market, and I think he would look excellent next to my Shinobu. Okay, so let's run through some Fate prototypes next. First up, we got Sakura from Heaven's Feel. And what I think I'm liking about this one more than the stronger one is the pose. While they're both floating or being suspended in midair, I like how her legs are a bit more in motion here, and looks like she's in action, though I guess she has to be with whatever attack she's about to pull off. Now forgive me for not knowing exactly what to call those ribbon strings that are making up her base and her outfit, but their sporadic nature, like how they're going all over the place in different directions, is so much more interesting to me compared to Stronger's as well. I don't know why I keep comparing the two, but it's on my mind as I stare at this one, so I can't really help it. This rendition of Sakura also seems to be slightly more revealing too. Around the chest you could see more of her like booba peeking out, and I gotta say it, I think she has some nice sculpted feet. Oh yeah, and there's also a little friend on the bottom, hell yeah. Meltralis is up next, and I don't really have that much to talk about here. I feel like I'm not understanding enough about this sculpt because I'm not very familiar with this costume or the character. I think if it was painted because I looked it up and it's supposed to be a penguin, right, I would be enjoying this one a lot more. But right now I'm just kind of staring at an oversized jacket and peg legs, and I just feel like I'm not qualified to talk about this one. At the very least, I could say her hair sculpt looks amazing, both in how long it is, and that section by her face where it's falling out of the hood. But yeah, I think I'll save my opinions for this one when I see her painted. Karna, on the other hand, is much easier to appreciate, even if, once again, I'm not too familiar with him. And actually, while I'm thinking about it, I'm not even sure exactly what I'm looking at. It's cool for sure, so don't get me wrong. My uneducated mind is just trying to piece together exactly what that cape is behind him. Whatever it is, though, it looks sick and must be super heavy if it needs 4 support rods to keep it up. The sculpt of it is beautiful though, and I kind of love how it's almost like dissipating as the right side blows off from the rest. It kind of makes me nervous about that part breaking off though. Also, shoutouts to that really spiky armor. That actually looks like it could hurt you if you grab this figure the wrong way. After looking up artwork of what he'll look like painted, I bet this is going to look stellar once he's done. Though structurally, I am a bit worried about him. Saving the best for last, we've got the one and only Gilgamesh himself, fully painted, and wow, you know, recently I've gotten back into Fate a little bit with the Babylonia anime, so I think I'm in the correct headspace right now to fully appreciate this one. Now, the armor sculpting, it looks as I would expect, but that gold paint job looks premium. Some of the best gold paint I've ever seen on a figure. And then that red cloth throughout this figure, man, I just love this color, and that shading is top notch. Not to mention the sculpt itself with all the billowing is phenomenal. I really do wonder how that chain is going to work though. Do we assemble it ourselves, or maybe it just comes together in one piece? I guess whatever allows it to not break easily is what I'd want. But yeah, this is fantastic looking, especially if you find Gilgamesh attractive. Those abs and that pretty boy face, I'm sure some of you guys have already put money aside for this. So we're wrapping up with Alter now, but really quickly there were also 2 bonus announcements not on the website for Azure Lane. One for Bremerton in her Action Cruise outfit, and another for Baltimore in her After School outfit, which I think are exciting announcements. And personally, I am really looking forward to seeing more of Bremerton. But for the sake of this video's length, let's jump over to the next section, which is actually Megahouse. Yup, saving Megahouse for last at their own event, and honestly, I thought they'd have a bit more, but just like Amakuni, they had a lot of older stuff or things that already went up for pre-order this month that I'll be skipping over. But we'll start with an exciting one for a lot of people, I bet, Shanks from One Piece. Now, he's probably going to go up for sale very soon, but I'll talk about him anyway. Sometimes I feel like Megahouse puts in a lot of extra work into their One Piece figures, and Shanks is without a doubt one of those figures. The paint job on Shanks is really good. There's a really nice sheen to his clothes, and the way his shirt specifically was painted almost looks like, I don't know if this is weird to say, but like, have you ever looked at oil like on the ground and then it's really pretty, like you get that rainbow effect or something? That's kinda my first thought with this paint job. So yeah, that's excellent. Everything from his clothes to his hair are. But I think some parts look a bit weird, like his leg hair. It looks very cartoony and kind of out of place, and I only mean that next to the realistic clothing, you know? His face also isn't really doing it for me, but maybe I just have a specific version of Shanks in my head that's clashing with this one. The pose is fine, I guess, not really my favorite, but doesn't bother me as well. What do you guys think about this one? Next up is their second attempt at Tengen Uzui, and yeah, this one is way better than the last, at a premium price comparatively, but I think this is more along the lines of what people were looking for. Now, what I don't get is why is this figure so small? Tengen was properly big, right? I mean, certainly bigger than most of the characters around him. But even on this broken up building of a base, he's going to be about the same size as Shinobu from Alter. I understand scales are going to be different between companies, but I think you're kind of alienating your fan base by making this hunk of a man so small. Also, the more I stare at him, the less I'm liking his face. It looks a little bit off. So yeah, I guess in the end, while I like the idea, I don't really like the execution. Okay, these next two I don't think I'll have any issues with, but they're also unpainted, so it's up in the air. But here we have two Persona 5 figures, starting off with Yusuke. I believe this may be his only proper figure so far, so that's a selling point for some on its own. Pose-wise, slightly stiff maybe, but I think it looks a lot better when you have his mask on. Having two different faceplates and a mask gives you a lot of posing options, which I appreciate. But besides that, it's a fairly simple figure, which I think is fine, and we definitely need to see more of it when he's painted. And then the other figure was a prototype of Haru. Now, strangely, they didn't show her without a mask, but she did have options to swap out her axe for a gun, so you still get some options. I'm sure she comes with at least a second faceplate if you want to remove her mask, but either way, I do like her pose a bit more comparatively, and having the Morgana bus emerging from the figure in this like stretchy, cartoony manner is something I like. It gives this figure a bit more charm. In my opinion, I think this Haru figure is the better one between the two, but there's also more Haru figures on the market, so she may not seem as interesting. Wrapping up the new Megahouse announcements, we had some Macross updates, starting off with the 3D render of Ronka Lee. So I can't get into the nitty gritty, but I can say she looks properly cute. Her floral dress is adorable, and that face, how can you not love it? But following that, we also got an announcement for Cheryl. Now, it's up in the air what this figure will look like. Will it be based off this artwork? Who knows? I certainly don't. But we can expect to hear news about this in the near future. And with that, we've covered just about everything new from Mega Hobby. In case you want to check out these figures for yourselves and maybe look up some other announcements I glossed over for reasons already stated, I'll link the page in the description. But yeah, with that wrapped up and the video's not too long, how about some more bonus news, this time in the form of Prisma Wing. They actually had a showcase today as well. And I feel like no one watched this one, at least I haven't heard much about it. Maybe it just wasn't advertised very well, but either way, let's just jump into it. First up was actually a surprise to me because they actually painted all 5 of the quintuplets from last time. I was expecting this one to take way longer, but here we are with the whole thing completed. And I'm a bit mixed on the outcome. I'm not sure if it's just the video's quality, but the colors seem so saturated and make the girls look a bit cheaper, and not exactly how I visualize seeing them in my mind. On the other hand though, I think their nightgowns or negligee, whatever you call these, look really well sculpted, very soft and airy, right? And that couch looks great too. I love that color of blue, it's a very pretty color. Unfortunately for this figure's sake though, I have the recently put up for pre-order Miku from Good Smile Company on my mind, and comparing that to these just makes me not too impressed. I suppose it would also depend on the price, but we know Prisma Wing at this point. We know it's gonna cost a lot. You don't just make 5 girls on couches and ask for peanuts. Maybe I'm being a bit too harsh though. I do like their expression still, and it's a unique set piece, so there's enough good points for me to not dismiss this completely. Next up was a quick 2-piece, 2 figures from Girls Frontline. HK416 and the LTLX 7000 are getting figures. This was only an announcement though, with no prototype, so there's not really that much to discuss here. But following that was something a bit more exciting. We finally got an update on a Miku figure they showed off way back in the beginning when Prisma Wing just started. And she is big, 1/4 scale big. So there's no way this is gonna be affordable. But she is looking good so far. I just wish this wasn't a 3D model still. They're really taking their time to make sure this comes out perfect, I guess. There's something really quaint about a Miku figure in her normal outfit these days being set up in this like sound studio with big speakers and a keyboard. Like, we've gone so far away from what Miku used to be that this almost feels nostalgic in a way. It's weird. But without paint and no true sculpt, there's not that much else to talk about, so let's move on to the next announcement, which was actually Shikimori. Previously, all we knew about this one was that it was being made, but this time we actually got to see her for the first time in 3D, and it's actually shaping up to be pretty great. So I really like the way she's set up, you know, like leaning against a bench with her coat on it. Little set pieces like this really do go a long way, but her pose and her flowing hair really just places you right into the anime. Well, I haven't actually seen it, but you know what I mean. Hey, if it's worth watching, let me know, maybe I'll try it out. Anyway, another key feature though is that she actually comes with 2 faceplates, a cute and happy expression and a more stern, like badass one. Which does seem to be a good call considering the very little knowledge I have on this anime. Moving on though, Yuru Camp also got some time to shine here with their announcement of a Nadeshiko and Rin figure. I really wish more of these figures were at least in their prototype phase and not just a 3D model, but it is nice to see the process, I suppose. It just makes it a little harder to talk about them. And I think this 3D model is making Rin look a bit weird. I really don't like her face that much. It's not exactly a great portrayal of her in my opinion. But Nadeshiko wrapping her arm around Rin's back is cute enough, so I like the composition of this one at the very least. Rising of a Shield Hero, a couple of Cuckoos, and she professed herself pupil of the Wise Man are getting new figures, but literally nothing was shown, not even the characters, so forgive me for going kind of fast here. But Mukuro Hoshimiya from Data Live actually did get a figure to show off, in her prototype phase at the very least, with a really crazy hair sculpt and this star-filled crescent base. I'm liking what I'm seeing here, and after looking up some images of her, I think this one's got a lot of potential. If they nail the constellations that can be found inside of her dress, then that's just going to add a whole layer of extra depth that's going to look amazing. Though I think her hair sculpt might be even more important to nail, as it's such a prominent feature of the sculpt. It really does look great with how voluminous it is. Only issue I guess is that I wish we could see her face a little bit more in these shots, but hopefully that's not something we gotta worry about. The Melium Honey figure got fully painted, which is kind of refreshing to see after all of these great prototypes, and it's really cute. I keep seeing this pose lately with the clawed hands, and I think I just really like it for some reason, at least where it's fitting, which I think it really is here, probably due to her fangs, along with that smile. It's just really infectious. Also, I like painted nails, and her black nails amplify this pose even more. The honey looks amazing though, the plastic used for it is perfect, and the sculpt of it splashing out of the jar and dripping onto the floor is really impressive looking. It looks properly tasty, and Rimuru being placed right under her butt in distress is kinda funny actually. So this figure also comes with swappable parts if you want to turn her into a bear maid, which is a cute concept. I think I prefer her original outfit a bit more, but I can understand why this would be more fitting. Honestly, one of my favorite figures from Prisma Wing so far, in general. It came together really well. Wrapping it up though was a really ambitious one, once again from Slime. Not a true prototype, but it was colored and it's going to destroy your wallet if you decide to get it. But it's a 3-figure diorama featuring Rimuru, Ranga, and Benimaru. And it's interesting to me because they blended these 3 together in a really eye-catching and pleasing way, but I could also totally see these 3 just being separate figures. The way it's set up doesn't make it feel like you need to have this as a giant diorama, but it certainly is much grander by doing so. Either way, the dynamic composition of this one will make it really tempting for Slime fans, as they're all set up in these battle stances with effect parts circling them. It's really cool. But again, there's only so much I can say about a 3D render. It looks very cool, I'm excited to see more, but that's kinda it. So let's wrap up this video by quickly talking about the Kotobukiya Collection. Now, this happened earlier in the week, so my coverage is a bit late, but in the spirit of OneFest, I'd like to run through their announcements. Who knows though, maybe they'll have more to show at OneFest itself. In any case, I want to start here with 3 new Boku no Hero Academia figures being announced of Aizawa, Dabi, and Miruko. Love to see them tackling some more characters that aren't just the students. I'm sure these characters have prize figures, but for them to finally get proper scales is great to see. Miruko's gonna make Kotobukiya a lot of money, I'm sure of that. My only concerns is hopefully these poses on the cards aren't what they're going for, as that would be really boring, but I have faith that they wouldn't do that. Another exciting one in my opinion was Brendan from Pokemon Emerald, along with a re-release of the Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire May. Honestly, I'm a bit surprised they went with a May re-release right after the original May design just got a figure a few months back, but it seems like Kotobukiya is really keen on announcing re-releases along with new figures. Plus, this May figure is super popular, so it does add up. As for Brendan though, it's kind of a weird pose. It's not really my favorite. Kind of reminds me of a platformer mascot or something, getting ready to jump through a painting and start triple jumping. Plus, he does come with Trico, and everybody likes Trico. Here we have a new Asuka figure specifically from the final movie and labeled as the final scene, so this could be spoilery if you care about that sort of thing, but I won't go into it. The highlight here is of course that her suit is all torn up, and I'm excited to see how her plug suit is painted so we can get that nice contrast between the suit and her skin. I kinda wish her hair looked a little bit better. Yeah, it's supposed to be messy, but at the moment there's a bit of stiffness to it that I'm not loving. At least her expression and her more mature look overall gives this figure a vibe that other Asuka figures won't really have. Okay, here's a really unique one, Katie Moon's Trick or Treat by Yoshiki Fujimoto. From what I've gathered, this originally was a garage kit that Kotobukiya decided to pick up to the delight of many people. She is one thick mama, you gotta love that belly, but the art style is so distinct and I really love it. It's been a minute since I've seen an anime figure that just stood out as something that I can't really make a connection to. Perhaps it's due to all the makeup she's wearing, it's not too common for anime characters, right? But I'm digging the punk vibes with those laced up boots, the skull buckle around her waist, and just for good measure, she's even got a knife. But if that's too scary for you, you can switch it out for a lollipop. The paint job on this figure is top notch too, that vibrant cotton candy gradient going on her hair, and then her shirt has this mix of metallic silver with airbrushed pink paint accents. This honestly seems like one of the best paint jobs we've seen from Kotobukiya so far. Terry Bogard Bashoujo version from SNK Heroines, one of the better Bashoujos I've seen honestly. Maybe that's just because it's pulled right from the game, but it looks fairly close to the original art style even though it's not. I think SNK are a bit cowardly for not giving her any muscle definition at all, but But I guess I can appreciate her toned tummy at least, and hey, this ain't Kotobukiya's fault. Having Terry in this pose adjusting her hat is definitely the best pose they could have chosen too, so overall I think this figure is a good one all around. If I made this video sooner, I would have talked about Alphen a bit more, but that can wait till the pre-order roundup. Quick thoughts though, I think it's impressive and the armor weathering especially looks great. But since he's no longer new, let's move on to some more RPG stuff. Kotobukiya continues to give love to the Legend of Heroes series with new figures for Rixia Mao, Crow Armbrust, and Ren Bright. In an alternate dimension, I would have played these RPGs instead of stuff like Xenoblade and Dragon Quest, but you know I'm always down for more video game figures, and this series is getting some serious push lately, so figures to go along with that is okay by me. The sculpts are looking clean, I have no doubt in my mind that these are going to look solid, and this smug expression on Ren has me interested in looking up her character, so I guess they won me over a little bit in the end anyway. Alright, final figures for this video, probably the most impressive sculpt of their event. Well, no, it definitely is, Deadpool from the Fine Art Statue Signature Series. Sure, Kotobukiya tackles DC and Marvel characters all the time, but it's not often they do it to this level of detail with copious, yeah that's right, copious amounts of detail in the leather, the mesh, the metallic remains of what I assume is a sentinel, pretty much every piece of this figure really, and it just leans a bit more on the realistic side of their sculptures. Now, this sucker's a 1/6 scale, and it's a cold cast, and the previous Cable figure in this line costs around 70,000 yen, so he ain't cheap, but I don't think it's surprising. Plus, I gotta imagine if you're already into like Marvel statues, then this price is no big deal. For our last announcement though, I saved the one that I figure viewers of this channel might care about a little bit more. What may be classified as a miracle for Genshin Impact fans, Kotobukiya is, get this, making a male character into a figure. I don't want to overshadow Lumine, of course, but I've seen a bit more excitement for Aether, so hey, if you like this, you know what to do. Speak with your wallet. Kotobukiya will probably make more male characters if you show them you're willing to spend the cash, right? I think they both look solid though, about the same quality I recall Barbara having, which was a cute figure as well. I really love how gold is used to complement both of their costumes, but thinking about it, a lot of Genshin characters seem to have that motif. It ends up looking really nice in figure form though. But with that, we're wrapping up today's coverage of One Fest. There's definitely going to be a part 2 of this coming pretty shortly as soon as I get time to make it, and I'm pretty sure we're about to get an avalanche of updates, so I may have to tackle that next video a bit differently, but I really won't know till I sit down and start recording. Super solid start to this One Fest though. Be sure to let me know what you guys thought of all the announcements so far, and until next time, I'll see you later. Bye.